Hello, it's 9 o'clock. Our top stories tonight. Chebukati finally meets President Kenyatta, but a handshake is all there is.
Sisi kama wananasa tulikuwa tumeshaona mbele. Tunaona kama kuna mtego. Tukakataa. Na kwamba hii hapa sisi hatuingii.
Wakijaribu au wakidhubutu kujaribu kuzuia Mkenya kutenda haki yake ya kupiga kura, wataona shamti makuli.
Contrasting views as Raila Uhuru make closing statements ahead of election.
Our consultations have convinced us that it is not possible to hold a free, fair and credible elections on October 26, 2017 as scheduled.
No one is obliged to stand for office or to vote if they do not wish to. But no one should use violence or intimidation to disrupt the right of others to vote or to participate.
Envoys leave decision to Kenyans, but civil society wants election postponed. Lost judiciary billions and a surprising Keriako Tobiko verdict 3 years on. Thanks for joining us. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. Tonight, our sign language interpreter is Flora Atieno. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta and IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati this afternoon met at Harambee House here in Nairobi to discuss the fresh presidential election set to take place on the 26th. State House spokesman Manoa Esipisu told the press that the president insisted that the election must go on since Jubilee has never given the commission any demands. And sources indicate that the IEBC held a plenary meeting regarding the safety of its staff in regions deemed to be hostile to the fresh poll. And Andrew Ocheng reports that uncertainty is still rife with just hours to the fresh election.
The meeting between the president and the IEBC chairman lasted only 30 minutes. The ruling party has not had problems with the commission and has sought to have the elections over and done with.
The president has reiterated what he has said before, that he doesn't have any issues with the IEBC. He doesn't have any conditions or demands other than the election being held in terms of the orders given by the Supreme Court, that is within 60 days, and in this case on the 26th of October, which is a date set by the IEBC.
The commission itself has been having meetings deliberating on how to proceed with the election in areas that have been hostile to IEBC staff, especially in Western Kenya. There was, however, no word on the outcome of the meeting. Meanwhile, there are more than 10 cases relating to the 26th October poll in the courts. Today, the petition filed by former Kilome MP Harun Mwau seeking to have IEBC conduct fresh nominations was heard. The president, through his lawyer Evans Monari, has urged the court to dismiss the case because the matter had adequately been dealt with by the Supreme Court in the 2013 presidential petition. In any case, Monari said the ballot papers have already been printed and delivered in the country. In yet another case, Justice John Mativo says he will, before Thursday, give a way forward on whether to stop the coming presidential elections to enable a petition seeking the constitution of a caretaker government to be heard and determined. The application filed by Okia Omtata is seeking to remove President Kenyatta from office and have a caretaker government established due to the possibility that the elections scheduled for Thursday may not take place. The lawyers representing the parties in the case want the court to establish a 3-judge bench to hear the matter if it is to be heard by the High Court.
Were you aware there was another party?
And in yet another case, a group calling itself the Kenya Professionals Association has moved to court seeking to have governors of counties in Nyanza not to interfere with the Thursday election. The group, composed mainly of Jubilee Party supporters, also want the DPP to prosecute the governors of Kisumu, Siaya, Migori and Homa Bay, accusing them of criminal and election offences.
Whoever you are, in whatever part of this country, the Constitution guarantees you the right to vote. This case is part of that, and it's purely about the right of Kenyans to participate in the democratic exercise through the vote.
The matter will be heard tomorrow. Andrew Ocheng, NTV.
Foreign envoys in the country now want Kenyans to solve their election-related issues, but within the constitution. The envoys say their indulgence in the matter would be tantamount to infringing on the country's sovereignty. And as Kennedy Mureithi now reports, the envoys, led by the American ambassador Robert Godek, have also expressed regret at the withdrawal of Raila Odinga from the presidential election.
The day Kenyans are expected to head back to the polls is fast approaching. However, a political impasse persists as the main protagonists hold on to tough stands. It is with this knowledge that the international community has once again come out to caution Kenyans on the direction the country is going, albeit without providing a clear solution. The envoys, who numbered 20, now say with the uncertainty persisting, it is only the law of the land that will reign supreme.
Solutions to Kenya's current challenges must be found in its constitution, not outside of it. Only the constitution guarantees rights and justice for all and can build a country that is fair for everyone, not just those with wealth and power.
Even as they insist on strict adherence to the laws of the country, the envoys point to solutions that can be born out of political settlements, especially if political players hold talks. This, they say, will also lead to postponement of the elections if need be.
The question of an extension or not is a highly politically charged issue. And this is a decision which really, at the end of the day, belongs to the courts. Kenyans can go to the courts, ask for this extension, ask for it to happen. And if they do so, and if the courts grant it, we would be fine with it.
While acknowledging that the IEBC had made remarkable improvements with regards to assuring Kenyans of a credible electoral process, there are fears that attacks on IEBC staff may greatly hamper its operations.
The deteriorating political environment is undermining preparations for the new presidential election.
But as they call for a locally generated solution, they say they are worried about the rising political temperatures in the country, and the envoys are monitoring politicians and their utterances.
We are following closely the actions of leaders and politicians. Those who incite violence or undermine democracy should be held to account for their actions.
The statement by the foreign envoys is backed by another from the African Union and the United Nations, which say they have their eyes on the current political situation in the country. They too have called on relevant players to act within the constraints of the Constitution. But as these calls by the international community intensify, the NASA outfit is asking them to keep off the country's affairs as they were not helpful. According to NASA, the envoys continued silence on the resignation of Commissioner Roslina Kombe, and remarks by the Commission's chairperson Wafula Chebukati on its preparedness is questionable. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV.
A consortium of civil society organizations under the trade union's umbrella have called for the postponement of the 26th October repeat polls. The union is raising the red flag over the safety and lives of election staff who manage the polling stations and voters who may turn up should the elections go on. And they further added that the current political and security situation in the country does not support elections under the constitutional principle of universal suffrage.
Our consultations have convinced us that it is not possible to hold a free, fair and credible elections on October 26, 2017 as scheduled. We, the people, therefore demand that the election scheduled for 26th October be called off.
Putting off the October 26th fresh election will not result in a constitutional crisis. We, the people, remind those clutching at this legal fig leaf that the judiciary has previously helped the country to identify election dates in 2012 under the current constitution and can do so again.
We, the people, call for the involvement of multiple stakeholders to national dialogue. It is only this form of dialogue, embracing a multi-stakeholder approach, that can de-escalate the rising tensions and restore the country on a roadmap to peace, truth, and justice at this important juncture, by focusing on the following issues. 1. Deep electoral reforms that bring an end to bungled, illegal, and manipulated elections once and for all. Never again must we as Kenyans be placed in these situations where elections become a matter of life and death and disrupt our country's life.
And on the same note, the National Super Alliance leaders want the IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati to call off the re-election. Led by Raila Odinga, the NASA principals asked Chebukati to take the cue from former Commissioner Rosalind Akombe and resign instead of presiding over what they termed as shambolic polls.
It was a call that echoed across the fully packed Gusii Stadium. With only 2 days left to the repeat polls, the opposition has stepped up its no-election campaigns, taking the gospel to the Abagusi. Raila and his co-principals sending the IEBC chair a special message.
Yale ambayo Chebukati amesema yote, yale ambayo Akombe alisema, sisi kama wananasa tulikuwa tumeshaona mbele. Tuliona mbele kabisa. Tunaona kama kuna mtego. Tukakataa. Ya kwamba hii hapa sisi hatuingii. Tunajua wanasema ati mtego wa panya uingia walimu na.
And we urge you today to stand up and be counted. Take the courage of Maraga. Take the courage of Akombe. And tell Kenyans in very clear terms that 1, your commission is incurably divided. Number 2, your commission has been hijacked by the executive. You can therefore not be able to conduct a free, fair, democratic and credible election in Kenya. Sawa sawa.
Kwa hivyo sisi tunamwambia wakati ni sasa, tusichelewe. Ni lazima tuokoe taifa letu. Na kuokoa taifa letu ni kutoa matamshi ya kusema 26th of October is not possible.
The NASA leader poured cold water on IEBC CEO Ezra Chiloba's 3 weeks leave, saying it was meant to hoodwink Kenyans.
Ameshapanga kila kitu, ameshaweka mitego yote, anasema anajiondoa. Isitoshe, leo saa 1 asubuhi Chiloba alikuwa kwa ofisi. Hata mpaka wakati huu yuko kwa ofisi. Wamekubaliana na mimi.
Acting Internal CS Fred Matiang'i also came under fire.
Lakini Matiang'i sasa amekuwa kama umbwa ambaye anasema shika. Na ajui anashika mtu kwa nini? Matiang'i arudi nyumbani. Wangapi wanasema Matiang'i arudi nyumbani?
October! Asanteni sana. No reforms? No reforms? October?
The opposition maintained that the countrywide demonstrations will go on tomorrow as earlier announced. Okukusa, NTV, in the county of Kisii.
Well, meanwhile, President Uhuru Kenyatta has warned those planning to disrupt the October 26th election, saying that they should stay away from the polling stations and allow those who want to exercise their right to do so peacefully. Beg your pardon. Uhuru was speaking during Jubilee's final campaigns in different parts of Nairobi. Sharon Baranga reports.
Jubilee Party supporters camped outside City Hall in Nairobi for the better part of the day, waiting for President Uhuru Kenyatta, who was held up in a meeting at his office. The President and his deputy William Ruto were to start their campaigns within Nairobi immediately after they launched 4 fire engines and ambulances that had been donated by the Belgium government. After launching the vehicles that will be used within the county, the President's motorcade began its journey. The first stop was South B Estate, where they addressed the residents there. President Kenyatta cautioned those planning to disrupt the repeat presidential election set to take place on Thursday this week.
Kuna wengine hapa wanatisha ati hakutakuwa na usalama. Mimi nawaambia hivi, sina shida,
Mimi wanaweza wanitusi, hiyo ni porojo na ujinga. Lakini mimi naambia hawa, wakijaribu au wakidhubutu kujaribu kuzuia Mkenya kutenda haki yake ya kupiga kura, wataona shamti makuni. Hiyo hakuna. Kama hawataki kupiga kura, wakae manyumbani kwao.
The leaders then left for Kayole Estate, where they were met by a crowd waiting to hear from them.
Malize hii siasa, turudi kazini jameni. Hii mambo ya maandamano kila siku, kuharibu mboga za wakina mama barabarani, kusumbua watu ambao wanaenda kazi, kupiga mawe magari na matatu, hiyo inatusaidia na nini wenzangu?
Uhuru urged the people to turn up in large numbers and vote him in. Other estates that they visited were Umoja, Outer Ring Road and Kariobangi. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Elsewhere now, and Gladys Boss-Sholay, the former Chief Registrar of the Judiciary and the current Uasin Gishu County Member of Parliament, will not be facing any charges of corruption or abuse of office after a magistrates' court allowed the Director of Public Prosecution to terminate the charges against her. Well, Sholay, who until today was facing serious charges that upon conviction would have led to her losing her seat, argued that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission was not properly constituted at the time the investigations were done. Ken Mijungu reports.
The tough-speaking, straight-shooting women representative from Uasin Gishu County has always maintained that the charges against her and other staff of the judiciary were fabricated and malicious. She vowed to fight them in court and clear her name and reclaim her reputation that had taken a beating following accusations of impropriety and her unceremonious exit from the helm of the judiciary.
I, Gladys Boss-Sholay.
Away from the courts, she successfully campaigned and captured a political seat, her first in her illustrious career. But even after her success in politics, the charges at the court still remained active. That's until today, when an application by the DPP to have the case against her withdrawn succeeded. Senior Principal Magistrate Felix Kombo allowed the application for withdrawal of her case under Section 87A of the Criminal Procedure Code that allows the withdrawal of a case before a pronouncement is made. She was accused of abusing the powers of her office allegedly by involvement in the regular payment of 46 million shillings for the construction of Mavoko Law Courts. She was also in court regarding the procurement of Chief Justice Willie Mutunga's house, a residence that has never been occupied. The other contentious procurement decisions was the rental of Elgon Place along Elgon Road in Upper Hill, which was to house the Court of Appeal judges and the courtrooms. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission had made recommendations to the DPP to charge Sholay after she was accused of involvement in the unlawful payments.
I have to say this for the sake of Kenyans like me who are being brought here to be charged on fake charges or spending the most productive years of your life defending fake charges in our courts. That is wrong and it's unacceptable.
Sholay may, however, still be charged using the same facts. At the time of the investigations, the EACC had no substantive chairman and some commissioners had also quit. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
All right, let's take a breather here on NTV's Decision 2017. But do stay with us, there's more coming up after this break, including...
Fortunately, we have only managed to retrieve 2 bodies and they have been taken to the mortuary.
2 bodies recovered after Lake Nakuru chopper crash, but desperation begins to set in. staying with us. Now, thousands of women allied to the Jubilee Party have now joined a newly formed outfit called the Jubilee Women Brigade in a bid to ensure that women come out and vote for their presidential candidate, Uhuru Kenyatta. The group, which has caused a stir for donning military or combat gear, says it will ensure Uhuru's vote is protected across the country this coming Thursday. Well, the brigade has, however, had to explain its motive after a section of Kenyans questioned its existence, arguing that it was polarizing the country.
Yes, madam. Uko tayari kuwa generali wa Nairobi County? Yes, madam. Uko tayari kulinda hawa mama on October 26th? Yes, madam.
Just like a lieutenant takes a solemn oath from his commander to serve and to protect, the Jubilee Women Brigade generals had their turn today in front of some 5,000 Jubilee women supporters. It was a colorful event, complete with song, dance and a parade. Those who were joining the brigade for the first time also took an oath. This brigade, led by former Nairobi Women Representative Rachel Shebesh, was formed immediately after the presidential election results were nullified by the Supreme Court. Slowly but surely, the brigade has traversed the country, recruiting other women. And today, it has several battalions across the country.
Even in the Bible, my dears, our brigade is not a brigade of war. It is a brigade of prayer. It is a brigade of women who want to protect their general.
The colors of the brigade are red, yellow and black, but the combat gear has also become part of their fashion. The military gear being draped by the brigade is what has many tongues wagging across the country. Some have argued that the brigade is creating a warlike atmosphere as the country gears up for the fresh presidential election. But others say the fatigues are nothing but an attraction.
The beret, it was the way we just do our kofiyas. So we felt as Jubilee women, we are better off with a beret than the normal kofia men put on. And the attire, this is an attire even during the reloaded times of ODM, they used to wear. So it is just an attire we believed in. But we are on soft gloves. I believe women are for peace.
Early this month, this brigade visited President Uhuru Kenyatta at State House, Nairobi. 4,000 of them pledged to support his presidential bid again. They got the president's nod, and today they vowed to do more than just come out and vote.
We want on 26th to make sure that the vote of Uhuru Kenyatta, there is no more doubt, by creating an army of women whose work it will be to get out the vote, to make sure the vote and to protect the vote of Uhuru Kenyatta. According to Section 279 of the Kenya Defence Forces Act, wearing of military uniforms is prohibited because it is equated to impersonation of a character that one is not. This offence under this section is liable, on conviction by a civil court, to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 1 year. However, one can be permitted to wear combat or security gear if the president permits or the Defence Council. Could it be that this brigade got the president's nod when they visited him at State House? On 8th, we gave him our vote, 8.2 million. And then we were told it did not count. The reason we have decided to be brigade is to say this time Uhuru's vote will count. How? We as brigade will make sure the vote comes out, it is voted and it is protected.
The round flat caps, popularly known as berets, originated from France back in 1889. They were worn during cold seasons in the mountains before the military began wearing them. In Africa, and specifically South Africa, they have been used by groups that have been seen to cause revolt. The Jubilee Women Brigade, however, says they come in peace.
It has nothing to do with war or anything. It is just an attire that makes you feel glamorous and makes the entire... and I can see it has catched an eye. I think we were looking for something with a niche that can catch the eye of many.
Many in Kenya have used social media to either support or denounce the Jubilee Women Brigade, some arguing that it is polarizing the nation and could lead to other communities and groupings to form brigades in the name of protecting their vote or region. But despite defending their motive candidly, the Jubilee Women Brigade insists it will cause no harm. Nimrotabu, NTV, Nairobi.
All right, some tough talking, yet harmless, so they say, women right there. All right, speaking about tough talking, Acting Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i has warned that the government will not allow any disruption of the election this Thursday. Matiang'i has therefore called on Kenyans to come out without fear and vote in the repeat election, saying that police and other national and county security agencies have put in place measures to ensure that every Kenyan is safe. The security boss has also outlawed any political gatherings starting tomorrow. Daniel Mule reports.
Regional county coordinators and county commissioners held a closed-door meeting with the Acting Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i and the Inspector General of Police Joseph Boynet to discuss how they can ensure a conducive, peaceful environment during the repeat presidential poll on the 26th of October.
IBC met with the National Security Advisory Committee last week and presented to the National Security Advisory Committee their needs, their security needs. We are ready to provide what they requested us to provide so that they can conduct a successful presidential election.
Should you see additional assets come to your region, it is your responsibility as county commissioner or a regional commissioner to see how you maximize on the additional resources sent to your region.
With NASA planning to hold demonstrations on the election day, Matiang'i called upon Kenyans to come out and vote without fear because the security agencies will provide adequate security in all corners of the country. But he gave a warning to any politician planning to disrupt the elections.
Some of those who are attempting now to subvert the institutions are the ones who enacted the Elections Offences Act. They understand the penal code. They understand that impeding officials of the IEBC from conducting an election is an election offence.
Matiang'i has assured support to the county commissioners, regional coordinators as well as the chiefs in implementing security measures that will work in their respective counties to ensure the elections are carried out without hitches. Daniel Mule, NTV.
Right, away from the election now, and 2 bodies have been retrieved from Lake Nakuru following a helicopter crash on Saturday. This comes a day after parts of the plane debris were recovered from the northeastern shore of the lake. Bridget Singana with the latest developments on the search and recovery mission.
There was progress on day 3 of the recovery mission for the helicopter that crashed into Lake Nakuru with 5 passengers, including the pilot on board. At around midday, a male body was recovered from these waters, another breakthrough in the search efforts, and it was speedily rushed to a private morgue. For the families of the fallen 5, the lack of frequent updates from those conducting the search only added to their anxiety.
Hatujaambiwa vile kunaendelea, mbona tumekaa gizani. Hawatuelezi vile kunaendelea na tumekaa, saa zingine tunaingia hapa masaa ya asubuhi, saa zingine tunatoka hapa mpaka masaa ya usiku.
Waongeze watu wenye wako na ujuzi na wajaribu kucommunicate na watu. Juu people are getting impatient. Mnakuja tu kama you don't know what's happening.
By 5:30, another male body was recovered.
The work has actually continued the whole day, and fortunately we have only managed to retrieve 2 bodies, and they have been taken to the mortuary. We have now called off the search and rescue for the day because it's getting late.
Families of the deceased have been advised to seek guidance from the Bondeni and Central police stations on how they'll commence with the identification process. Nearly more than 72 hours since the plane crashed here in the waters of Lake Nakuru, and the ones conducting the recovery mission have been able to retrieve the bodies of 2 individuals. And it seems like they shall be pitching camp here once more tomorrow. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru County.
And we certainly hope that the bodies of the remaining 3 passengers on board are found soon. All right, let's take a breather at this point on Decision 2017. Do stay with us, there's more coming up, including...
Hello there, time for a look at the day's business news. My name is Laban Clayton Serio. We begin with matters of financials. And the Central Bank of Kenya on Monday today, that's offloaded dollars into the market in a bid to rein in the slide of the Kenyan shilling. Now, according to Reuters, the Kenyan shilling dropped to 103.75 units. That's to the dollar. That's early in the day. That's the lowest level it has gone that since August. And the shilling's woes have been caused by the perceived political instability. That's in the wake of the uncertainty over the presidential elections set to take place. That's this Thursday. Now, the shilling has closed the day at 103 shillings and 2 cents to the dollar. That's, of course, 103.2 that was witnessed last Friday. All right. And of course, so you want to get more details onto that and what exactly the central bank is going to do about, of course, that differences and the falling shilling to the dollar. That's on your copy of the Business Daily, where we'll give you more details on how the central bank is going to mitigate against the falling shilling to the dollar in terms of unit price. Still staying with that, and of course, that comes with the issue about, of course, the US dollar falling to the Kenyan shilling. Let's look at, we are 3 days away to the general elections, and businesses have faced and continue to face losses in the run-up to these polls. That's due to frequent protests and a dampened investor perception. Now, many have confirmed that indeed losses have been faced, but to paint a picture into numerical values, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance has given a sector-by-sector overview and losses experience. Let's take a look at that. The overall outlook expected, that's for 2017, was 5.9%. They, of course, recorded 4.7%. That's early in 2017 due to a drought, especially in the agricultural sector that affected the agricultural sector adversely. And right now, what they project is that the overall 2017 economic outlook will fall below 5%. Of course, the year is not over yet, so we don't know how this will pan out towards the end of the year. But what we know is they project that it will go below 5%. So let's look at sector by sector overview. Now, what you see on your screens right now is just basically dependent on how the sectors contribute to the overall economy as a whole. Of course, agriculture contributes about 32% to the overall economy. Now, for 2016, we had a 7.1% projection, but of course, performance that is. But on the projection for 2017, especially in the first quarter of the year, it fell to a 1.4% growth. And look at manufacturing there, of course, had a performance of 5.3% last year. This year, what KEPSA says, it's just going to be at 2.3%. And the tourism, especially at this hour, of course, where tourists are basically planning their holidays towards the end of the year. This, of course, we expect a fall in 2017 to come into 13.4%. So let's look at the drivers now to this key economic sectors overview. Of course, that is first beginning with transportation. What the Matatu Owners Association say is that this is on a 7-year low, and of course, this is compared to the diesel consumption. And using here diesel, of course, is just looking at the amount of diesel consumed, of course, depending on how many people go to work every day, and also look at electricity supply. Look at there saying that the hydroelectricity has reduced actually consumption by 36.8%, and of course expecting a flat growth that is in geothermal. And of course, moving on, you just want to look at how else would other sectors, of course, be affected. Key among them, of course, you're looking at education and you look at the performance at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Of course, this is not news that the school calendar has been disrupted, of course, in view of the current political situation. And of course, with the national exams, and last but not least, of course, looking at the tertiary institutions that have also affected ongoings at the institutions of higher learning. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. Now, what these numbers show you here is that 11.1 billion, that is looking at the amount of shillings that have been of course, received from the Nairobi Securities Exchange. What they say is that this equity turnover is actually higher compared to last year's. But the question is this money flowing into the country or out of the country? Of course, considering that 70% of investors at the Nairobi Securities Exchange are actually international investors. So, and tomorrow, actually, we should say that we're expecting a full report from the Capital Markets Authority on a full overview of the complete performance at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, of course, with the general capital markets outlook. So, still staying with what KEPSA KEPSA says is that, of course, there's been major event cancellations. This is in the run-up towards the elections. We had, of course, the Safari service expected here. We had the United Nations AIDS Coalition Committee, all events which have been postponed, of course, in light of this election jitters. We also had a low investor confidence, and, of course, they're looking towards how do you ensure that this will look towards in the coming months. So a lot more on concerns there by the private sector. But last but not least, of course, what KEPSA says is that at the end of it, of course, businesses maintain a cautiously optimistic outlook, saying that, well, we are indeed going into an elections, but what will be the meat of it all is how the country, of course, moves on from here. And moving on, the Kenya Plantation and Agricultural Workers Union has denied claims that it has called off this strike that's affecting workers in the tea sector. The union's Secretary General, that's Francis Atwoli, has disowned a letter dated 16th October addressed to the Ministry of Labour in which he calls off the strike. Atwoli says he wrote no such letter and has urged the workers not to return to work. The Federation of Kenya Employers had already circulated the said letter along with the press release calling on the workers to respect the law and return to work. The Ministry of Agriculture has also spoken about the strike, seemingly taking the side of employers, that is, saying that implementing the 30% as ordered by the Industrial Court is not practical.
Haina kidole changu, haina signature yangu. Sisi tuko na court order. We have a valid court order which ends on 31st of this month. We are expecting to meet employers tomorrow under chairmanship of the Labour Commissioner.
If, for example, we ask too much to the extent that the industry cannot afford, what would happen? They will abandon or relocate to other destinations which are cheaper. The net effect, therefore, is massive layoffs. So I would wish that the employers and the unions really get to understand these basic aspects. Say that as we want our employees to benefit, we also want the industry to survive.
Still staying with that story, one of the factories affected by the workers' strike is multinational Unilever Tea Kenya, and the Corporate Affairs Director, that's Joseph Sunday, has this evening issued a statement saying that the workers are in violation of a court injunction that halted the strike that's until the 7th of November, and that the company will be hiring police officers since the strike has resulted in acts of violence and destruction of property. Unilever has now filed a contempt of court charge against the striking workers. From tea to coffee, and the Agriculture and Food Authority has started consultations on the coffee regulations, that's for 2016. That's in order to comply with the court ruling in August that squashed the regulations that's terming them unlawful. Now, this is the first time that regulations are being reviewed, and while a number of farmers have expressed satisfaction with the law as it is, a few other cooperatives want sections of it amended because they are designed to kill the cooperative movement. The growers want regulation number 8, as recommended by the Presidential Task Force, to amend. That's in order to stop farmers from entering into agreements with other parties, a move that they argue will take away their numbers. The regulations are annulled in August, and the High Court ordered the Ministry of Agriculture to hold consultations with all stakeholders. That's within 30 days. Last but not the least, housing prices have increased by 0.4%. That's in the third quarter of the year, even as people remain cautious of the prolonged electioneering period. Now, according to House Property Index, Kilimani was the best performing area, with the asking prices increasing by 2.5%, while Lavington witnessed a 2.6% drop over the same period. Policy uncertainty on land by the county governments owing to leadership changes has led to a drop of 1.7%. That's in asking prices in Nairobi's 14 satellite suburbs. Now, a proposal to regulate land use in Kiambu County in order to boost food security negatively affected the asking prices of property that's in the county.
To properties in the diplomatic zone or suburbs along Limuru Road, where there is sustained demand from the diplomatic and expatriate community. Gigiri was the best performing suburb, up 4.8% over the quarter, while Muthaiga is the top performer on an annual basis, with prices up 12.5% on a year earlier. The political uncertainty is also having an effect in the rental market, which recorded a 0.3% drop in asking rents.
And for business, it's a wrap. My name is Laban Cliff on Serio. Stay tuned. There's still a lot more after the break.
NTV Business News.
Back. Royal Mabati Factory Limited has been awarded the 2017-2018 Super Brand East Africa status for its excellent work over the years in the roofing category. Now, the brand has seen an immense growth over time, received a certification of recognition for their performance as a roofing company. The award, according to Super Brand's East Africa Project Director Jawad Jaffer, is deserving due to the quality of Royal Mabati's products, their reliability to the customers, and their distinguishing factor of free delivery across the country. Well, Chris Requaro, the operations manager of Royal Mabati, says that the award is sure to strengthen their brand and enable them to grow and improve on their delivery of services. The status will last for a 2-year period, upon which a new assessment will be done to determine the super brand qualifiers for 2019.
We will also feature a write-up. We will publish the write-up in a book, which will also be available online. So you will find them receiving more awards as it goes along, as people and organizations read about them online. Many of our brands here in East Africa get more and more responses globally as well.
Receiving this brand will enable us to grow as a company. It will enable us to meet our vision of meeting our customers' needs in appropriate and effective way. So we are really glad, and we are very happy at this moment.
All right, congrats to them. From that, we shift our focus to the world of sports. Edmund Nyabola has the very latest in just a moment.
time for the sports. My name is Edmond Nyabola, and let's take you live to London, where the best FIFA Football Awards are currently going on, where the world governing body FIFA is awarding the best footballers, coaches and players in the world. Zinedine Zidane, they are just named the coach of the year after winning the UEFA Champions League and of course the La Liga title with Real Madrid last season. Strongly with Mike Madoya, Nicolas Kipkirui and Danson Chitambe losing early chances in the first half. The win leaves Posta fifth, that is, on 46 points, while Zukericho remain in 15th with 35 points. Tuesday's midweek action will see Chemelil Sugar host Sony Sugar at the Chemelil Complex. Meanwhile, KPL has fined and warned Gor Mahia head coach Dylan Carr over improper conduct. This is after Carr invaded the pitch in protest of a goal scored against his team against Sofapaka, but later apologized for the incident in the post-match interview. And to some motorsport, Kenyan rally driver Manvir Baryan and his British navigator Drew Starrock have been crowned the Africa Rally champions following their victory in the Zambia Rally over the weekend. This victory was the fourth for the Skoda Fabia R5 crew, who wrapped up the 2017 season with 115 points in total. All Zambian crew of Leroy Gomez and Ashla Gomez were second. Uganda's Christidis Fitidis alongside Rwandan Eric Nzwambimata were third in that rally. And Baryan and Starrock achieved the feat with victory in the Pearl of Africa Uganda Rally, the Rally of Tanzania, Rwanda Mountain Gorilla Rally and the Zambian Rally. The multiple racing team have ensured Kenya won the ARC for the third successive time and the fifth in total. Now, the national men's volleyball team are still yet to win a single set at the Africa Men's Volleyball Championships in Cairo, Egypt. Kenya suffered a second successive defeat to Tunisia in straight sets. Kenya lost the first two sets 25-16 and 25-19. Coach Moses Epoloto's Chargers took an early lead in the third set and looked poised to win it, but lost control after the third technical timeout. Tunisia closed the 6-point gap and won the set 25-22. Kenya remained bottom of the pool without a win. The national team play Libya in the third Pool B match on Tuesday evening. Now, Everton have sacked manager Ronald Koeman after they dropped into the relegation zone following Sunday's 5-2 home defeat by Arsenal. Dutch Koeman took over 16 months ago and spent a significant amount of money overhauling the squad in the last transfer window. However, despite the mega spending, Everton have only won 2 out of 9 league games in their worst start to the season since the 2005-2006 season. Koeman is the third managerial casualty of the Premier League season following the sacking of Crystal Palace.